Welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Chris Varcoe with the Calgary Herald, joined by columnist Don Braid. Don, the past week was a busy one in Alberta politics with an Auditor General's report, the health minister saying that she wanted to reshape the way she pays doctors, but probably most importantly, a dispute between the Alberta government, or the province of Alberta, and the Premier of British Columbia, who decided in her throne speech to take a few jabs at her neighbour and say that Alberta is really an example of how not to manage your wealth, how to not diversify your economy, and how to get yourself into trouble. And thank goodness that British Columbians are not Albertans. Seemed to be a very bizarre thing to see in a throne speech, but what was probably more remarkable is Alberta's response was to basically agree with them and say, yeah, this is all really baggage laid at the feet of the old PC government. What did you make of this whole fight?
I was astonished. I was astonished that one province would have something in their throne speech criticizing the record of another province. Doesn't happen. It has never happened before. Nobody can recall it. Christy Clark is a hostile. She has established now that her government is all about blocking Alberta's resources, taking away Alberta's competitive advantage, using their tidewater advantage to their own benefit with liquid natural gas. You name it. She's been doing this since 2012. But the provincial government's response is absurd. They keep saying, oh, they're just talking about the PCs. Come on, she's talking about the whole province. The NDP has got to get over the idea that they're strictly a partisan body who can blame everything on the last guys and acknowledge that maybe a good thing or two happened and stick up for the province, but they're not doing it.
Two things really stood out for me in this dispute. One was that this criticism came in a throne speech, which, as we all know, are meticulously planned. So this was deliberate. The very next day, when the issue, sort of raised its head as a political controversy, Christy Clark gave a speech and said, Alberta's our best friends. Oh, and by the way, they've had a problem of spending like drunken sailors for the last few years. So clearly, I don't know if that's malice, but it certainly has intent.
Well, but hypocrisy, if not malice, that's for sure.
But then separately is the response from the Notley government almost makes it look like Alberta is weak. That Alberta the weak is sitting here on his hands and knees with the economy in the tank, and British Columbians can sort of lord it over the province, and nobody here will respond, whether it's to talk about the fact that they want to sell us power, or they want, liquid natural gas, and they obviously need gas from some sources. I mean, it strikes me that this is a province that needs to respond in some manner.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the things they could throw back or BC is how about like a 10% advantage on sales tax? How about a lower income tax rates and lower tax rates in general, despite the higher tax rates? But they never throw any of that back. I mean, Christy Clark is acting like she's on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and our people, the snap just went over their head. I don't know. They got to change that.
Politics is about symbol, and clearly this was a symbol that doesn't bode well for the Alberta government. Let's turn our attention to another symbol, which is reining in doctors' salaries. Sarah Hoffman said that they want to reshape the way we pay doctors. What do you make of that issue?
Well, they're heading for getting all the big public sector unions, teachers, nurses particularly, and certainly a lot of the components of AUPE to take 000 for the next few years. There's going to be a fight over that. It's hard for the NDP to do, but that's what that whole thing signaled. So there's going to be real tough negotiations to get the unions to rein in.
Okay, Don, let's talk about our winners and our losers of the week. So who's your winner?
Well, I have to say Brad Wall, who came up with this rather brilliant idea of getting federal funding in hard times to clean up orphan wells. I was once again very disappointed in our government's reaction because our government said, oh no, basically that would just benefit the companies. Nonsense. It would benefit people who are getting jobs. It would benefit the environment. Two things that the NDP seems to want. So I was kind of surprised once again by a knee-jerk response that's not carefully thought through. The people who would most benefit from that would be workers who had employment for a while.
My winner is going to be Rick McIver and the PCs. And I know that they obviously faced some criticism in the past week from the Auditor General's report. But, and this is a big but, the most recent poll showed that they've moved ahead of the NDP and are in second place, a rebound off the mat, which I don't think anybody saw. And then McIver and the Tories were also the ones who came out and sort of defended the economic diversification record of the province, pointing out that in the 80s, about, 36%, 37% of the economy was tied to energy. Now it's down to 25%. It really is factually refuting what Christy Clark had to say. So he's my winner. Who's your loser?
My loser would have to be Darrin Vaile, the Economic Development Minister, who was so completely weak on this whole issue of Christy Clark. Just a knee-jerk response. It was all the PC's fault, but not realizing that this is now affecting Alberta's image as a whole rather than just their stupid fight with the other parties.
Don, my loser of the week is Preston Manning. Mr. Manning sent out an email to all the various Conservative MPs in Ottawa asking for their help in trying to unite the right. Didn't seem to go over very well. Brian Jean really responded with the words, outsiders, including Mr. Manning, need to stay out of the business of the uniting of the progressive Conservatives and the Wild Rose. So it didn't seem like he got much traction. So for that, he's my loser of the week.